Chesapeake Bay at dawn. One of those magical moments when you feel at peace and in harmony with nature. For me, the Chesapeake is a special place, an extraordinary natural treasure. Over the past 30 years, I've spent a lot of time on the bay, sailing, hiking, swimming, crabbing. I love the water, its calm, its beauty, its majesty. And I'm fascinated by its meandering shorelines. In the early morning light, the bay can look so pure and pristine, but that's deceiving. I know that like most of America's waterways, Chesapeake Bay is in trouble despite years of trying to save it, and that worries me. I wanted a first-hand look, and so I headed out on the water with Larry Sims, a waterman who's been commercially fishing the bay for 60 years.
In its peak time, if you drained the bay, the crabs and the fish and oysters and everything would probably be 10 foot deep on the bottom all over the whole bay.
Over the past several decades, Sims has watched the good times of bountiful harvests slip away.
It's about like your home waters here.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
What is the Chesapeake Bay like today for a waterman?
The only thing that we have in abundance that we had back then was the striped bass, the rockfish. Other than that, everything else is diminished. The oysters, we used to catch 2 million bushel a year. Now we catch 100,000 bushel. I never ever dreamed that I wouldn't be catching shad anymore. I wouldn't be catching yellow perch anymore. I wouldn't be catching tarpon anymore. I never ever dreamed that that would come to an end.
Sims took me to the old fishing town of Rock Hall, where watermen were bringing in the day's crab catch. Crabs have long been the trademark of Chesapeake Bay, but the catch is now down more than 50% from 25 years ago.
So how was the catch today?
It dropped off a little bit today.
Dropped off. So what do you come in with, 6, 7, 8 bushels?
9 altogether.
9 bushels? 10 years ago, how many would you have caught on an average day?
About 30.
About 30 bushels, about 3 times as many.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the bay and what's happened to it?
I think it's a tragedy. I think a little upset that my children can't enjoy this way of life that I've chose, you know.
In Rock Hall Harbor, all that used to be processing houses for striped bass, for oysters, for clams, for everything that we was harvesting.
So a lot of people in the fish and crab and oyster business went out of business.
Yeah.
You're talking about billions of dollars of economic impact with oysters, crabs, shad, striped bass. The decline in the fisheries has just been dramatic. I wouldn't have thought even 10 or 15 years ago that we would literally lose oysters as a commercial fishery. We have. It's done.
Watermen are seeing the symptoms of decline. But the deeper problem, I learned, is that the very dynamics of the bay's ecosystem are being fundamentally altered by human impact. The bay is acutely vulnerable because its watershed is so large, 11,000 miles of shoreline, and it drains big rivers from 6 states.
In all of North America, it's the largest estuary. We're talking 1/6 of the East Coast, from Cooperstown, New York, out into West Virginia, almost down to North Carolina.
It is the receptacle of an enormous volume of water in a uniquely shallow basin. Its average depth is only 21 feet, making the bay an ecological hothouse.
It's fabulously productive, but also exquisitely vulnerable to land use because it has a huge drainage basin. So you have, the classic place for trying to determine whether humans and nature can coexist.
One problem for Chesapeake Bay is that humans have drastically overfished the resources, especially crabs. But scientists have also tied the dramatic decline in fisheries here to man-made pollution. and a growing phenomenon called dead zones.
Dead zones happen when too much fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus, comes in. It grows lots of excess algae. The algae die, decompose, suck up the oxygen from the deeper waters, which aquatic life needs to live.
This is what a healthy, oxygen-rich bay bottom looks like, full of lush grasses where fish and crabs can grow. A dead zone is completely different, barren and empty.
The bottom of the bay, when there is an algae bloom and when you have a dead zone, is as dead as the face of the moon. That there is absolutely no oxygen in these dead zones, and nothing can live that requires oxygen for survival.
Crabs can't make it, fish
Crabs can't make it, oysters can't make it. Fish that get caught in a dead zone will literally die if they can't get out of a dead zone. They'll float up to the surface, their bellies will explode, and you'll see fish kills throughout the Chesapeake Bay.
In the heat of summer, dead zones now occupy as much as 40% of the main stem of the Chesapeake Bay. But it's not just a bay-wide problem, it's worldwide. All across the planet, dead zones have been doubling in frequency and size every decade. There's one in the Gulf of Mexico the size of the state of Massachusetts. Pollution is not just creating dead zones. It's playing havoc with human health and recreation.
And those health advisories at Sandy Point Beach are still in effect and will be.
Every year, more beaches have to close periodically because of pollution.
County Department of Health. People are urged to avoid direct contact with the water on the east.
The unfortunate reality is that people get sick from contact with water every single day. And we have information suggesting that that problem is getting worse today than it was 10 years ago. And this is a result of a number of different contaminants being in the water that ultimately can make people sick.
Today, we're at a point at which this system called the Chesapeake Bay may be on the verge of ceasing to function in its most basic capacities. And what do I mean by that? Providing a place for people to swim, recreation, providing a source of seafood, shellfish, finfish, oysters, crabs, underwater grasses which support the crab populations, and being a system that is absolutely wonderful to look at, to support tourism, to be a source of real pride to the region. We are at the verge where all of those functions of the Chesapeake Bay that we value could be lost to the next generation unless we take dramatic and fundamental action today.
What leaves the bay's defenders distraught is not only its perilous condition, but the public's evident loss of interest and the failure of federal and state governments to stick to their repeated promises over the past 25 years to clean up the bay.
There has been so much investment in science and in modeling and in monitoring. We know today precisely what is necessary to save the Chesapeake. And now it's very clear it comes down to the question of political will.
You know, there's a tendency to blame it on lack of political will. Well, hell, who elects the politicians and who re-elects them? Last time I looked, it was us. We ran out of excuses for delaying many, many years ago around the Chesapeake. We can afford it. We don't necessarily want to pay for it, but we can afford it. So I have to say that collectively we don't care enough.